In only a couple of months, upwards of 1,000 unmarked graves of children have been discovered at former Canadian residential schools, sparking a reckoning with the country's colonial past. Right here in the United States, there's an American history of residential schools. One functioned right here in St. Ignatius. Located on the Flathead Reservation, St. Ignatius is a small Montana town, but it shares a history with much of the United States and Canada. Throughout the late 19th and 20th centuries, Native American children attended boarding schools to assimilate them into Western culture. They were mostly led by religious institutions.
My late father and my late mother both attended reservation boarding schools, the Ursuline school system here on the Flathead Indian Reservation.
Matt runs a community Facebook page for Confederated Salish and Kootenai tribal members and has tapped into some of the responses of the news coming from Canada.
Well, what I've noticed recently is there's a lot of fresh rage and anger, justifiably. Those of us that have had parents and grandparents and even great-grandparents that have attended the boarding school system, we've heard stories all our lives. And, some are not as bad as others, and some of the stories are the stories that you almost whisper.
Matt told MTN News there are questions about children and babies that may have never returned from their time at the Ursuline institution, a school documented for its physical and sexual abuse. But like whispered stories, the history of the residential schools in America and legacy of trauma it left behind on Native communities is often faint. A vigil Saturday was held to honor survivors of boarding schools and remember lost children. And healing comes with seeking answers.
I would love if we had our own investigation here, apply pressure to the government to do something about it, because they're definitely here too. It's not just Canada.
Dozens gathered with flowers, stuffed teddy bears, and candles to mourn for the children that never came home. Trahan Sorrell, a descendant of a residential school survivor, said the issue hits home on multiple levels, but especially as a mother.
I can comfort her and I can hold her and let her know that everything's going to be okay, but all of the babies and children at the boarding schools didn't have that. They didn't have anybody to comfort them.
And for those unaffected by the recent discoveries, organizers stressed sensitivity.
That this is still like a very close and painful subject for people that are just alive today. So it's not a really old issue. It's a very recent, current issue.
Organizers at the vigil emphasized the need to heal from the past and the desire for acknowledgement from both the government and religious institutions about what happened at residential boarding schools. In St. Ignatius, Geneva Zoltek, MTN News.